The Bears are wasting no time getting started finding their next head coach. We are less than 24 hours removed from an upset victory in Lambeau Field against the Packers, and the Bears are already diving deep into their search for their next head coach. There are already multiple reports confirming the Bears have already requested to interview with both of the Detroit Lions coordinators, Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn. Also, earlier reports confirm the Bears are scheduled to interview with Mike Vrabel this week as well. And then there are reports of a fourth and fifth interview, as the Bears have also requested interviews for Anthony Weaver and Cardinals offensive coordinator Drew Petzing. Less than 24 hours after the season ends, and we already have 5 candidates that we've requested to interview. And on top of that, reports also suggest that the Bears are interested in Broncos defensive coordinator Vance Joseph as well. That's 6 candidates already officially linked to the Bears head coaching job, and that's without any reports surfacing from other potential candidates. Some other names to keep an eye on: Cliff Kingsbury, Joe Brady, Liam Cohen, Todd Monken, among others. I expect these next 2 weeks or so to be crazy when it comes to coaching rumors, but it's important to ignore anything that isn't an actual report. Currently, 5 coaches seem to be confirmed that the Bears have at least requested to interview, with a sixth one being rumored. The most interesting thing about these names is 4 out of the 5 initial ones and 4 out of the 6 overall come with defensive backgrounds. The only offensive minded candidate on the list is Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson and the Cardinals OC as well. But the Bears should be interviewing both Lions coordinators this week, a benefit of Detroit having that first round bye. But we must remember that we cannot officially hire any coach until after their team's season is finished. Out of the 6 candidates whose names are swirling around today, Ben Johnson is my clear favorite. Obviously, I'm uncertain about how he'd be as a head coach, but I believe his success as a play caller, his creativity, and the work he's done with Jared Goff makes him a perfect fit to develop Caleb Williams. As for the other 4 guys that all have defensive backgrounds, they are also guys who are similar to Thomas Brown. They demand accountability, they control the room when they speak, and they are former NFL players themselves. I'm a fan of all these guys. My favorite, as far as these defensive coordinators are concerned, is probably a toss up between Aaron Glenn and Anthony Weaver. Aaron Glenn spent 15 seasons in the NFL and has over 40 career interceptions. The work he's done with that Lions defense, especially when you consider all the injuries, has been amazing. And then Anthony Weaver is another former player. He was a second round pick in 2002 by the Ravens, and he spent 7 years in the NFL as a defensive end. Mike Vrabel also continues that trend, having spent 14 seasons as a player in the NFL across 3 different teams, most notably with the Patriots, but he also played with the Chiefs and Steelers. And the fourth defensive candidate on the list, Vance Joseph, is another former player, although he only played 2 seasons in the NFL and went undrafted. But when we're talking about Ben Johnson, he is also another former player. He was a backup quarterback at North Carolina. He never played a snap in the NFL, though. Instead, he graduated with a degree in mathematics and computer science. And then a year after graduating, he got his start as an assistant coach at Boston College, giving him a connection to Ryan Poles. Ben Johnson spent 3 years as a graduate assistant at Boston College, and he does have a connection to Ryan Poles from that time. He has spent the last 15 plus seasons coaching, with 12 of them coming in the NFL. But I do have a bit of breaking news, as the Bears also asked to interview another candidate while I was in the process of editing this video: Cardinals offensive coordinator Drew Petzing. The Bears have officially requested to interview Petzing as well, as both Petzing and Ben Johnson spent time at Boston College with Ryan Poles. There's definitely some familiarity there. But the Cardinals' current OC, Drew Petzing, should also be coming in for an interview this week as well. That makes 5 official interviews and 1 rumored interview. The rumored one is Vance Joseph. All 6 of these candidates seem like they could be great head coaches, but they're not the only candidates the Bears are going to be looking into. It's also important to remember we are still very early in this process. It hasn't even been 24 hours since the season ended yet, and Ryan Poles in the front office started doing their background work on potential coaches nearly 2 months ago. But just because someone's name hasn't popped up yet doesn't mean you should rule them out. I'm going to list some other names to keep an eye on over the next couple of weeks. Obviously, I'm going to lean more with offensive candidates here, especially considering how many of the confirmed candidates are defensive coordinators. The first guy on the list is Cliff Kingsbury, the Commanders' offensive coordinator, who was already familiar with Caleb Williams. But he's also followed by Bills OC Joe Brady, Ravens OC Todd Monken, Buccaneers offensive coordinator Liam Cohen, and even Texans offensive coordinator Bobby Slowick. To me, I would at least want to interview all of these young offensive minds and at least hear their plans for developing Caleb Williams. I've been pretty clear from the get go that my preference would be an offensive minded head coach, someone that could get the most out of Caleb Williams and develop our franchise quarterback. However, I'm not opposed to a defensive minded head coach, and I'm open to whoever we decide to bring in. I even think Brian Flores and Pete Carroll could be options as well. I've heard rumors that Pete Carroll really wants to coach the Bears, and out of all of the candidates, he is one that could assemble a really good staff around him due to his years of experience in the NFL. I expect Ryan Poles to do his due diligence and continue interviewing candidates. I've always expected the Bears to cast a wide net here, but I am a bit surprised at the amount of defensive candidates on the list early on. Thomas Brown will also officially receive an interview at some point, most likely this week. I am unsure how serious of a candidate he is at this point, but his win over the Packers yesterday and how much the players seem to respect him has to matter for something. He will at least get an interview. The next 48 hours will probably be crazy with coaching rumors and news around the NFL. Multiple coaches have already been fired, and more could be on the way. How do you guys feel? Is there a name that stands out to you in the coaching process? Who is your favorite, and who do you want to be the next head coach of the Chicago Bears? Stay tuned, guys. We're going to have a ton of content on the way as we're officially heading into offseason mode. Please remember to hit that like button for me. Stay tuned. And until next time, bear down.